Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here again. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Greetings and salutations to all my soulmates out there. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Welcome to The Missing Link. I am your host, Sabrina Soul. And today, I have an amazing man. I have this amazing king in front of you and in front of me. And this is Edwin Henderson. He is an executive chef for Chefs in the City. Let's all welcome Edwin Henderson.
Let me hear you scream.
Thank you so much for joining me. I am so honored to have you here with me tonight. You could be anywhere in the world, but you are here with me. So my first question to you is, and this isn't even part of none of my questions, like, where are you? Like your background there with all the spices and the, like, let me tell you something. I'm hungry just looking at it. I'm like,
so
give me some salt and some hot sauce and some pepper and some garlic powder.
exactly. I got everything that you need back behind me. So this is one of my backdrops for when I do my cooking live sessions for nonprofits and corporations. But I basically have all of my spices behind me. So we're in my kitchen. This is my lab, my studio. This is where I make the magic happen, and I sprinkle a little salt and pepper and some extra love on the food.
I love it. So this is actually like your kitchen behind you. Like this is your backdrop and everything. That's amazing.
Yeah, I just recently got the kitchen remodeled, and so I did a different little setup, and so I wanted to be able to have different little areas to where it gave a more professional background. And so there's sometimes, like the ones, I think most of the lives that you popped in on, you've caught the angle from seeing like the stove area and things, but this is the other side when I do the student classes.
Okay, understood. I am so sorry. You probably hear my dog in the background, and I told my daughter to control the dog, so my apologies to everyone. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Let's begin. I know everyone is excited to hear what you have to say. So the first question that I have for you, the hardest question, the most important question is, who is Edwin Henderson?
That's a good question. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's necessarily hard per se, but I will say that I'll try to be as concise and as short-winded as possible, since I've been known to be long-winded. But I will say that I'm first of all a child of God. I am a very spiritual person, and so my background and my foundation is that of a lover of Christ. I'm a father. I am a son. I am a servant. I believe service is very important to our society, and so I'm a major advocate of giving back to society in whatever capacity or shape or form that may be in. I'm a brother. I'm a singer. I'm a part-time dancer.
Right.
Sounds
like me.
It could go on and on, but I would say those are the most significant areas. It's me being a father, first and foremost, is very near and dear in my heart. So fatherhood is one of those things that I very well advocate for, no matter what. And then just being an overall just good person to society as much as we can, and how I can leave a positive imprint on society.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that amazing introduction. So where are you from? Like, where did you grow up? Like where you were playing hopscotch and baseball and football and doing all that in your younger years? Like, where did you grow up?
So there's an area, if you picture the continent of Africa, there's a place that's at the very southernmost region part called Wakanda. You know Wakanda?
I know Wakanda.
Oh, no, I'm just messing around.
I'm like, where is he gonna go with this? I'm like, should I really be paying attention?
I was gonna say I was from Wakanda, but I mean,
I was like, should I really be paying attention, or should I get ready to laugh? Because I'm like, he could really be telling me something new.
No, I'm from. So right now, I currently live in the northeast area of Houston, but I grew up in the Fifth Ward area. So I grew up. So if you ever heard of like Fifth Ward, Third Ward, all those little spots, it's basically just like a hood of Houston. And then from there, I moved to the east side of Houston, which is like the North Shore, Channel View area, and then I, been here in this area where I'm at right now for about 10 years now. So I'm in the Humble area now.
Yeah. So growing up as a child, like what did you want to be when you were growing up?
I always wanted to be an astronaut. It was either an astronaut or a firefighter. I would say it's always been somewhere along the service role. But I would say being an astronaut was my very, very first thing. Because actually what I planned on doing was going into the military, and I wanted to become a pilot at the time. And I was always fascinated with space as a young kid. So you could always catch me watching, documentaries about space, reading books about space. It's just something, and even now to this day, at 41 years old, like I'm still fascinated with outer space and with shuttle launches and anything that goes on with not being on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah. I could absolutely see you as a firefighter, FYI.
Yeah.
Like,
it's crazy that you say that because I was a Harris County Sheriff deputy, way back when I got out of the military. So I was a cop for about 5.5 years. And then once I left law enforcement, I actually considered going in to becoming a firefighter, but there was already an age restriction in regards to you being a firefighter here in Houston.
Really?
There's other loopholes where you can actually get into being a firefighter. Like if you went to a junior college and then got your fire certification, and then you got like a smaller agency to hire you, you could still do it. But if you wanted to work for HFD, I think there was like a cutoff age of, it was 30 something, I believe. And by the time I actually considered doing it, I was already well beyond that age. So
yeah. Interesting. Okay. So can you let everyone know what you do now? What is your job profession?
So my job profession is I am a private chef. I offer an in-home private chef service or in-home restaurant style service to my clients. So I created this concept called Chefs in the City. And Chefs in the City is, I call it a culinary collective of chefs, bartenders, and waitstaff that we specialize in creating memorable experiences around elevated foods, creative cocktails, and superior overall like waitstaff service. And so if you're looking to be able to have like host a party at your home or at some event place, then I'm the one that will provide you with the staff that's a part of my team, or I'll go out and I'll actually find chefs that actually have their own business, have their own thing going on, and then I'll reach out to them and see if they're available to be able to do a job. So I'm kind of like the chef connect, if you want to consider that. But in addition to just offering the private chef experience, my biggest thing is really just being able to do something fun around food. So like I absolutely love tacos, and so I always say people ask me, do I like really love tacos the way that I say I do, and I say I do. It's just because there's so many different things that you can do with tacos. There is no limitation to it, and then I think it's just something that makes a lot of people happy. It's like a comfort food, kind of like ice cream or going to the state fair and having a funnel cake. Tacos kind of does that same thing, and so I create these taco parties called For the Love of Tacos.
Oh wow!
We do like a big taco party. We'll have various style tacos. We'll do karaoke. Just have a good time.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Now, okay, because you're based out in Houston now. So for your private chef, for your business, do you travel to other states? So if someone in Miami, if I wanted to book you in Virginia because I'm having a huge dinner birthday party and I want you and 5 other chefs to be here, and like I want the, people walking around with the trays with hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that. Like, do you provide all that? And do you also provide that in other states?
I do. So that's the great thing. That's the great thing about Chefs in the City is that we're not just local to what I like to say, the United States of Texas. We'll actually take it outside of the region of Texas. The only stipulation is your pocketbook. Like, you got to make sure your pocketbook can pay for our flights and our hotel and our rental car, because I try to make sure that people understand that, this is a specialized service. This is not something, when you think about going to a fine dining institution, you think about going to like whatever your favorite restaurant is. So think about the level of service that you get there. My objective is for that whenever you hire us to be able to come into your home, to be able to come into whatever event space that you're having, is that you walk away from that event thinking, saying to yourself that you've gotten even far beyond what you would have received at a restaurant. So we will very well come out to whatever state. So like tomorrow, actually, I'll be flying out to Atlanta. So Atlanta has now become kind of like a second home because I'm getting a lot of clientele in Atlanta. And so if you're going to flute, how do they say flute? Is it flute out?
You about to be flued out.
I'm about to be flued out. So if you want to fly me out to whatever state you're in, I'm very well willing and able to be able to do so. But that's exactly what we want to do. There's no limitation to it. We want to just be able to provide you with that elevated service, and long after the food is gone, we want you just to have that memory of the people that you gathered with after that event.
Absolutely. I think that's so amazing. Absolutely. Okay, so you heard it, guys. So I know like a lot of people love you, Edwin. Everybody's feeling that salt and pepper and the tattoos, and the women be all like, you need to come here. You need to come here. So ladies, he'll come for a fee. You know what I'm saying? He'll absolutely come and cook for you. So, don't just be sleep. When you slide into the DMs, make sure you got your checkbook in hand. And I'm sure
slide in the DM with a purpose. Yeah,
slide in the DM with a purpose in your checkbook.
Don't just slide in or whatever. Don't slide in talking about, hey chef, how you doing, chef? I watched you on the show. Slide in and say, chef, you getting ready to get flued out to wherever I'm at.
Absolutely. That, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully they actually get it this time. They get it now. Some might not, but yeah. So you put it out there.
But it's okay though. I get it. Honestly, it's still taking me time to reply. Like, I try to reply to people from messages that have been sent over a year ago. Like last week, I spent time replying to people, and I just say thank you, or just kind of showing love back.
Yes.
I'm not trying to get into a full conversation with anybody, but the fact that somebody reached out to me just to be able to show me some love, it's always been my heart's intent to be able to just show that love back. And so sometimes it may be a year that you get a response back, but at the end of the day, it's just me showing my appreciation to those that have taken a liking to what it is I do, and that support, what we have going on.
Absolutely agreed. So, when did you start cooking? At what age? Were you like 3 years old and you had your little pans and you were scrambling eggs? Like, how did you start cooking? What made you at that moment, or what age was it when you realized I want to cook?
So I got put into cooking a lot sooner than most people, I guess, typically would. I think I started cooking maybe around age 7 or 8. And it started because my oldest brother is handicapped. He was born blind, doesn't have the ability to speak. And so I kind of grew up taking care of him at a very young age. And so if you've ever heard of the term of a latchkey kid, where, a lot of times the parent isn't home when they get off of work and you got to go and take care of yourself a little bit. I was that kid, so I had to learn responsibility at a very young age. And so I remember having to come home from school, and I had to be, I remember my mom, would tell me, you have to be at the house right after you get out of school. So there was no playing around with the friends after school. I had to leave the school, get home. Good thing is, where we stayed at was in walking distance of the elementary, but I had to be there to be able to get my brother off the bus. And so when I got him off the bus, my mom wouldn't be home for, various hours because she was still working. So I had to be able to, cook food for him, to be able to, change diapers. I learned to change diapers at a very young age. So I would always say my cooking started with the two things that you probably would never see me cook ever a day in my life again: hamburger helper and tuna helper.
Because that's what you cooked so much of back in those days.
That's what I cooked a lot of. That's what my mom cooked a lot of. Rice-a-roni every now and then, a San Francisco treat. Tuna helper and hamburger helper were staples in our house. So I learned to cook that at a very young age. But I don't think that I really took the affinity to truly cooking until maybe until like my early 20s when I got back from Iraq. So when I came back from my deployment in Iraq, and then me and a buddy of mine that deployed with me, that's when I started really diving into cooking. I started like learning from recipes and just really getting out there and trying things because there was always this creative side of me that I knew existed, but I don't think that I really truly channeled that creative side of me until I started the actual cooking. Like I knew I could do stuff, in music when I was singing, but there was another aspect of me that really desired to be able to display that onto a plate.
Yeah. What is your favorite dish to cook? Like, what is your favorite dish? Not your, well, I guess, yeah, to cook, not to eat, but to cook.
So that's always been a hard question of mine. It's what's my favorite dish? Like I think every chef typically, a lot of times if you ask a chef what's their favorite thing to prepare, they'll a lot of times tell you, I got this one particular. Mine is very hard because I just love the art of creation. And so that could come in. I love seafood. So I probably would say it has to do with the seafood style dish. I'm a seafood lover, like through and through. And like I love the seafood on the East Coast. Like it's like when you think about seafood in various areas. So if you go to the East Coast, seafood on the East Coast is different than seafood in the South. And then if you get seafood on the West Coast, it's completely different. Like it's just something about seafood that you can just do like some sexy things with. And so I would say honestly, like, as of today, my most favorite thing to prepare now is a Chilean sea bass. I love, I've loved all various different type of fishes, but it's something about a Chilean sea bass over like a linguine pasta it does something to my soul. Especially one that's been marinated, like the one I did last week. So if you've ever had a miso glaze Chilean sea bass, that's a really good one because basically it's the flavors of, you basically take a miso paste and you break it down and create this marinade and let it sit there for like about 24 hours. But it's not a difficult dish at all. Like there's some dishes that a lot of times you'll go to a restaurant and you think that it just took a very long time to make. But there's some dishes that you could truly just make, within a matter of 45 minutes to an hour, and it doesn't take a lot of time. It's just more of the preparation. You got to do the marinade. You got to let it sit overnight. And if you don't get a chance to let it sit overnight, you do it for a few hours and then you put it together. But it's just the steps behind that. So I would say, the sea bass with a nice linguine pasta and some grilled asparagus. Not nothing major. Just simplistic but very flavorful. Very full of different flavors. And I like to jazz it up a little bit. Sometimes I'll throw some capers inside of the linguine. With some cherry tomatoes and some artichoke, and just kind of give it some dimension. So it's not just a one-dimensional type dish.
I'm so glad I ate before I came on here because my stomach would take over this whole live and it would be like, like that would be my stomach because it would be growling. I'm so glad I ate because I'm like, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you that, but that's the joy of food though. Like when you think about food as a whole, like just think about like when you think about food, like especially when you're hungry, when you think about food, it's the endorphins and everything else that's released inside that does something. So when you think about how, like if you talk about like your favorite dish or your favorite comfort food, how your body reacts and like you start wiggling your toes and moving around.
Yes, the happy dance.
It's a happy dance. It's like
you get
that's
your
the reason
food.
why I feel like food and music, dance, all that type of stuff like just goes together. Like it goes hand in hand. It's arts. It's so when I think about chefs and the way that they create, they're just as much as an artist, as much as a vocalist or a person that's a musician that's creating a beat. Because what we do is we take individual ingredients, because when you think about, if you take butter and you just eat a stick of butter, it's just butter. And then you take a flour and you eat flour, it's flour. You take sugar, it's sweet and it tastes good. But when you combine all of it together, it creates this harmonious combination of and then the outcome is a cake. So when you think about music is the same way. You can go to a keyboard and hit, a F, a B flat or A flat or this and that. But then when you combine all those chords together, it creates this melodic, tone that is appeasing to us. And so I think like going in the kitchen becomes that same thing, which is the reason why you hear sometimes people say how therapeutic it is, because although you don't hear the music of food, it's like the sizzle. I always say that the sizzle is the sound of heaven, because when I hear a sizzle, that's a soothing sound to me, or, to somebody else, it's a certain sounds or whatever that soothes the soul. Well, to me, when I'm in the kitchen, to hear water boiling or to hear the sizzle of, me putting a chicken breast into a skillet or, me putting together something, that's something that's soothing to me when I'm cooking.
Yes, yes.
And the way you said yes. Girl, you better stop saying
I'm
yes
over here
that.
yeah.
And that's why I brought my towel, just in case you started with that yes. And I'm telling you, I already told you about your voice. I already told you that you gotta be careful.
Yes. So moving on. We're talking about you, not me. Okay, so question. Did you go to culinary school to become a chef, or are you self-taught?
I am self-taught. So, beyond popular belief is, and it just depends upon, I think it's personal preference. Like when you think about a college degree, there are a lot of professions out there that people say, well, you have to have a college degree. There are some professions out there that you don't necessarily have to. Now, if you want to go into the restaurant market, if you want to go into the restaurant industry and do certain things, sometimes they will require you to have a 4-year degree. Sometimes there are loopholes to be able to get your foot in the door based off of who you know. But based off of the route that I decided to take, this didn't happen because I wanted to be a chef. This happened because life directed me this way.
Right.
And one of the biggest things that I try to share with, with adults and more so with youth is that a lot of times, the path that you're on, like you may have a certain, direction that you feel like you may want to go. Like I honestly felt like law enforcement. And then once I retired in law enforcement and becoming a teacher was going to be my path. But at a certain point in time, that wasn't the case. But I also had to recognize that there were certain things that God placed inside of me that I had to discover was the gift that he placed inside of me. And so I believe that this is one of those gifts that he's placed inside of me to be able to share with the world, because I believe that the way that we honor God with whatever he's placed inside of us, kind of like with you with your podcast and taking that step out and that leap of faith to do what it is you need to do. He's placed it inside of you. You recognize that it's something that you've been wanting to do probably for some length of time. And you finally decided to get out there and do it.
Yes.
But what you're doing is, everybody has a podcast in a sense, but everybody's not you.
Right.
And that's the big thing, is because you're going to reach people that the other person's podcast is not going to reach. Yeah. And so I would say the same thing as me as a chef. There are many chefs that are out there, but there's only one Chef Edwin, and there's only one Chef Edwin that's going to touch your heart the way that I do when I do my events. Somebody else can emulate me, somebody else can try me, but they're not me at the end of the day. And so that's the great joy that I take in being able to execute and to be able to put out there what I believe God has placed inside of me to be able to do. So to answer that question, you don't have to have that 4-year degree. You can go out there. Now, I will still say that there is some training and there is a level of learning that you have to invest in. You can't just get out there and just say, oh, I'm a chef, because you just want to be a chef. It don't work that way. You still got to put in the work the same way that a person that, has committed to doing 4 years in school has committed to. There's some techniques, there's some processes, there's a knowledge base or foundation base that you have to have to be able to be successful in this industry. And if you don't take the time to truly invest, and when I say invest, that could be just studying YouTube videos. That could be ordering books offline and then just studying those books and practicing recipes, trial and error, burning up some shit if you got to burn it up, and then, redoing it again. But you got to make an investment to be able to say, you know what, I've earned this title of chef. Like even with myself, I people started calling me chef long before I ever called myself a chef. And I was uncomfortable with it because I didn't feel like the foundation was really truly laid for me to be considered a chef. Like, I feel like there's a major difference between a cook and a chef. And you could be great in the kitchen, you can be great at preparing, food and dishes, but there's a certain mentality, I believe, that comes along with you, being a chef and being out there and being able to execute what you have to execute.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Have you ever worked in a restaurant before?
I have never. That's one thing that I've actually considered
Wow.
doing
Mm-hmm.
is to go and just get some experience. And I've done some things in a restaurant in a smaller scale. I've
Mm-hmm.
done contract work before for a restaurant, but I've never actually worked like as a line cook or done anything to that nature. But I do
Mm-hmm.
believe that working in a restaurant format, it will help mentally prepare you. It'll help you kind of get used to certain things because, like, I could tell, I'll give you an example. As I have a chef that's a part of the team that he works in a restaurant, but he really wants to break away from working in the restaurant because when you're working in the restaurant, you're limited to the capacity of your growth. At a certain point in
Correct.
time, once you get into a restaurant, if there's already an executive chef there, if there's already a person that's there that's already holding a certain title, you may can only go so far. But I feel like on the private chef side of things is that the possibilities of what it is I do are endless. Like, many times you hear that we say the sky's the limit. I really don't believe that the sky's the limit because when you really look at it, yeah, I get the idea and the mindset behind it, but you can go beyond the sky because there's just so many different things that you can tap into. Outside of being a private chef, you can do corporate virtual cooking classes, you can do nonprofit virtual cooking classes, you can do outside experiences, you can do mentorship type things where you go into impoverished neighborhoods and be able to teach the youth how to be able to the basics of cooking, because that's something that's like near and dear to me as well, is that I learned how to cook at a very young age. I believe that it's essential for every young man and for every young woman to know how to cook. They don't have to love how to cook. They just need to know the basics of cooking. Because, like, if you do decide to go to college, or if you do decide to go into the job market and work whatever trade, you don't need to be eating out every single day.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to cook some things for yourself to be able to learn, because you're going to have to learn how to budget. And eating out every single day is not going to afford you that opportunity unless you came from a family that allowed you with a silver spoon in your mouth, and you got X amount of dollars in your account and you can do that. But even then, I still highly suggest people that may have the financial backing to know that, to have that knowledge base, because it just goes a long way. You think about, like, here in Houston a year ago, we had the biggest freeze, an ice storm that we had ever had before. We didn't have any power, so to be able to have that ability to be able to use like a little induction burner or a gas burner to be able to whip up something, or just to be able to know how certain flavors pair with one another, I think it's just an essential skill that helps you. Like, when I teach the kids that are like 5 and 6 and 7, it's really not about necessarily teaching them how to cook more than it is about teaching them the confidence that comes along with cooking. And it teaches them about the mathematics. Like, when you think about the metric system, and I say, hey, I want you to grab a half a cup of flour or a teaspoon of this, you're learning certain things outside of cooking that is just associated with the culinary side of things.
Mm-hmm. Correct. So, okay, so say for instance, because you're saying that it would be good to get some level of education, or some culinary experience, just with like the education portion. Where do you know anywhere, or can you tell them, the viewers, like, where could they go to get some culinary experience or training, or like a certification if they wanted to get a degree? Like, where could they go to get that? Do you know?
So if you're looking to be able to get a culinary degree, then I would say looking to, because like locally here in Houston,
Hmm.
based if you want to use your money wisely, the biggest thing is, like, I was afforded with the opportunity of using some of my Montgomery GI Bill when I served in the Army. There are some that are going to have to take out student loans or use government grants. I would say check with your local community college first. Before you look at the major universities and look at the major culinary programs that are out there, check the local schools that are in your area, because believe it or not, some of the programs that are local in your area, community college, junior colleges, they're just as good as
Yep.
your major universities. It's just
Yep.
the fact that they're frowned upon by some people because of the fact that they look at it as it's not, a school of notoriety. But the biggest thing is that you're just trying to get the foundational information to be able to kind of, catapult you out there. Secondly, I would say that if you choose not to do it by the local community college, is to some of your training, as honestly as unorthodox as it sounds, YouTube is a great asset to be able to learn.
Great.
There are so many, like I'm gonna tell you right now, like even right now, I YouTube a lot of stuff. I Google a lot of stuff, but I watch a lot of videos because there's so much information that's out there. You damn near don't even have to spend your money to go to a school to be able to learn certain things. Now, the reason why I say going to a school is beneficial for some is because like I'm the kind of person that I learn better when somebody's teaching me and I'm like right there. But I also get that same experience when I'm watching YouTube. Sometimes I just got to go back and watch that video 5 and 6 and 7 times because once I get that repetitiveness, ingrained in my mind, it now becomes a part of me. And then even when I feel like it's a part of me, I never want to feel like, oh, I have it. Let me go back and watch it again. So all you're doing is like reaffirming the information that you've already kind of downloaded into yourself. And so it's just more of what works for you. Do you have the financial backing to be able to go to school? If you don't, then apply for the grants, apply for the student loans. If you learn better by going to school, then go ahead and go to school. But if you just feel like, you know what, I don't want to commit to 4 years of school, or I don't want to commit to 2 years, because you don't necessarily have to get a 4-year degree. I'll tell you an example. Before I ever became a chef, I was a major veteran advocate. I'm an Army veteran. And so the Wounded Warrior Project gave me an opportunity to be able to go to a school that Anthony Bourdain went to. So the Culinary Institute of America is where he graduated from. Now, they sent us through a crash course called Culinary Boot Camp, which was a 1-week course that we did in San Antonio, Texas. And then I got accepted to their upscale course or their advanced course in Poughkeepsie, New York. And I did a week out there. So at that time, I wasn't thinking about being a chef. My business at the time, I was a personal trainer and I was doing meal preparation. And so I got an opportunity to be able to see behind the scenes what it looked like to be able to go to a 4-year school if I actually later on in life decided I wanted to go to. Because I wasn't thinking about becoming a chef, I only focused on, let me get as much information as I can while I'm going through this week-long training, and then I will parlay that into my business. And then eventually, that's how I got into the culinary side of things as a chef. But you just got to really be intent on what it is you want. Identify what it is you want to do. If you want to go into the private side of things, because the thing is, if you go into a restaurant, you're going to have somebody kind of dictating what you do, when you got to be there, when you this. On the side that I deal with, you're in control of it. You still got somebody to answer to, which is the client, but you're still in control of your contracts. You're still in control of those various different things. So
Well, that's amazing to know that the Army actually offered that, because my father, he was in the military for 32 years. So, and it's a lot of stuff that he used to talk to me about. So anyone that is interested in becoming a chef or wants to just take this class that is in the military, do they offer this to anybody that's in the Army? I can't speak for any other military. We're just going to say the Army because that's what you were in. So anybody that is in the Army that wants to kind of take this 6-week course or this training in San Antonio, like, is it available for anyone to be able to do that?
So I don't think that they offer it anymore. It's something that I'll take a look in and be able to see, because we were actually looking into, because there was another program that was outside of New York that they wanted us to be able to fly us internationally and do something that I think it was in Paris somewhere. to be a part of Wounded Warrior Project, you have to be a certain percentage disabled based off of whatever injuries you succumb to during your service time. So I don't know specifically if that program is still available, but I highly suggest that if you are interested, they're like, even if you don't even do the 2-year course or the 4-year course, like there's a local college here called San Jacinto College, and they have various, locations around the city, or Houston Community College. They have programs like summer programs leading into the spring and leading into the summer. They have programs that if you just want to learn how to increase your knowledge in baking, or if you want to increase your knowledge in a specific cuisine, they have those. So I would say do those type of courses on the community college side before you do the university side. But they're out there. And then they have other programs that are out there. You just kind of have to Google them and find out what's available in your area. You got to do a little research just to see what's available in your area, to see because sometimes you may come across, other chefs that may be what you consider master chefs that have been in the industry for a long, long time. And they conduct, instructional courses to be able to help you learn the strategies of becoming a chef, because there really is something outside of being a good cook. There really is a mindset that has to exist to become a chef. And again, like I said before, there are many people that they give themselves a title. Oh, I'm a chef because I put food together on a plate. But being a chef, it's well beyond just that time in the kitchen when you're preparing. There's a lot of other things that go into it long before, whether it be the planning of an event, whether it be, being able to order, the ingredients, like all the ingredients that you have, like the stuff that I have back here behind me, like the things that I have to think of in advance. So if I do have somebody reach out to me, I'm not having to scurry to be able to make sure I got to run to go grab those items because I have those things already in stock.
Right. So is it a difference between, okay, so when you say chef, so the thing is because I know it's all different types of food. So chef is like food, but then you have like your pastries. Like, is there a difference in what you are called when it comes to different categories of food and what you're preparing? And like what
I would say that there is. I think when you think about identifying chefs, so there are a lot of times you have chefs that specify or they're very specific on whatever type of cuisine that it is that they're preparing. I would like to say that I'm not limited to one specific style of cooking. Like there's some that, may focus on American traditional, and then you got some that focus on solely Mediterranean. I would like to define myself more as more of an eclectic style fusion chef, because I like to pay homage to the traditional cuisines that we have out there, but I like to always add my own spin and my own flair to it, to where it doesn't limit. So if I have somebody reach out, like I have, some people, they may reach out and they say, hey, I want a Mediterranean cuisine. And then they may know exactly what it is they want. And then sometimes they don't. So I'll just go based off of my knowledge base on Mediterranean cuisines, and I'll submit to them what it is that my knowledge base is. But if they say, hey, this is what I want, if I don't know how to prepare that, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to tell you, oh, I don't know how to prepare it. Because at the end of the day, my biggest job is that's an opportunity for me to grow as a chef. So I'm going to tell you yes, and I'm going to make sure that I go back after we get off the phone or whatever, form of communication.
You figure it out.
And I'm going to figure it out. And
figure it out.
And I'm going to learn
YouTube
it. It's kind of like that. It's that moment of, oh, do I turn this contract down because I just don't specialize in this? Or I may even go another step further, and I may find somebody that specializes in that specific thing. I may hire them to come on board and be the lead chef for that event, and I just kind of play the cut, and I just learn from them. And I orchestrate and I dictate this and that. And so to me, that's a part of the executive chef side of things, is knowing where you need to bring in other people that may be even better at that specific cuisine. Like the chef that I had come in, recently and working with me a week ago. I don't always consider myself the strongest when it comes down to plating, but I'm always learning and I always want to know what other people's, what they see artistically. And
Yeah.
so I told him, I said, hey, well, what do you see? And then I'm not the kind of person that's going to stand over you and look at you. You contemplate that. I'm going to step away and then I'm going to come back and check out what you got. Because I want you to be able to flow and be able to just put your best foot forward without me hovering over you like, hey, well, I'm waiting for you to do, execute this. Just tell me what it is you're going to do and execute that, and then we'll move forward from there.
That's correct. Yeah. So what is the least favorite thing that you like about being a chef?
The cleanup part.
That sounds about right. Like, I cook, but who gonna do the dishes?
The cleanup part, I could say the cleanup part is very difficult for me. That's why I'm thankful that, when I hire people to work with me, they're thinking ahead, because I'm so caught up with making sure that the job is executed well, is that I'm not the best at cleaning up while I'm cooking or while I'm doing certain things. So I'm thankful that I have people that when they work with me, I notice that they may start washing, or like if we're in between something, because my mind is like thinking about the next dish or the next course that we have to put out. So I would say probably the cleanup part.
Yeah. What do you love most about being a chef?
What was the last thing you said?
What do you love most about being a chef?
I would say I love the memory that's created behind cooking for others. So I would say it's probably the service that I give. I find more joy in serving other people. And so I find joy in the cooking and the preparation, but I think it's just something very special about when we serve, mankind. Like when you think about something as simple as, holding the door for, somebody that may be coming behind you to get ready to walk in the door. It may not seem like it's that big and that magical of a thing, but it's kind of like that pay it forward thing. It's like, let me hold the door for you. And the next thing you know, you see the next person holding the door for the next person. And so my thing is that I want people to be able to truly see that service is so significant, it's so pivotal. It's just as much as it should be a part of our day-to-day lives, not just during the holidays. A lot of times we kind of wait to the holidays to be able to give back, but there are always ways that we can give back to others in some capacity. It don't necessarily have to be cooking. It could be just something that's like, again, as simple as holding the door, or whatever it may be that you figure out that may be service related to you. I always encourage that, because I really believe wholeheartedly that that's what creates a better society. Like, even though we look at our current state of our world right now, many times you'll hear the world is going to hell in a handbasket, because there's just so much stuff that's just going on. We play a major part in the overall atmosphere of our society. And so although we may see all these different things externally going on, and it may be a lot of bad stuff going on, what can you do as an individual to change the trajectory of the direction of our world? And you may not feel like that it's changing anything, but I always say this, is that many times that we have these visions of grandeur, and we say, oh, we want to be able to touch the world. We want to impact the world. We want to be known worldwide.
Right.
That's great, but maybe your worldwide is just within the reach of what you have. Because when you really look at it, you are reaching the world, because when you reach the person that's within your reach, you don't know how much an inspiration that you can be to that person, because that person may have a bigger reach than you. Like biggest thing is that I realize is that my reach may not necessarily reach the four corners of the earth. Like, we all have an expectation or whatever we're going to reach, but that next person that we inspire, they could have a so much larger reach than we have, that they could do it. But the thing is, you planted that seed in them that sprouted. And the thing is, you planted the seed, but somebody else came back and then they watered that seed.
Absolutely.
And then somebody else came in and they cultivated that seed.
Yep.
And so we all play a part to be able to make sure that that next person is equipped with the necessary tools to be able to be dynamic. And then it still goes back to you at the end of the day. You planted that seed that caused whatever great thing is that person did to happen. Had you not done it,
Yes.
it could possibly
Yes.
happen with somebody else. And that's why I always say it's significant and it's key that we also are in tune with our spirit when God is wanting us to do certain things in our lives. Because if we don't do it, at the end of the day, God may be pushing us to do something and we ignore it.
Yep.
Well, God is going to make himself known one way or another. If you choose it, not accept it, he's going to find the next person that has a willing heart to be able to make sure that happens. Because at the end of the day, it needs to happen because that's how life is. It's just kind of like that ecosystem that it's just like you plant the seed, you water it, it produces a harvest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What would you tell someone who is interested in becoming a chef?
I would say you need to first identify what kind of chef you want to be. You know, I think there's so many different areas that you can kind of go into, you know, because most of the time when you're thinking about being a chef, you're just thinking about the restaurant side. I think the biggest thing is that, you know, and I've even noticed it since the pandemic, you know, we dealt with 2 years of a pandemic, and there are a lot of people that are exceptional cooks that are now operating in the role of a chef. And that's a great thing. I think the pandemic, honestly, it opened up so many different opportunities and doors for people to be able to get out there, to be able to kind of live their dream. It's first identifying, you know, what kind of chef you want to be. And then from there, it's just kind of taking that next step into, well, what is it I need to do next? Do I want to actually go to culinary school? Culinary school is great. I'm not going to push against it for anybody. Like, I'm honestly contemplating if I'm actually going to go to school just to learn some certain things that I feel like it's beneficial. Like baking is not my strong point. I don't feel like I'm going to necessarily get the knowledge of baking through YouTube the way that I would like. Like regular cooking, I can do. But there's something about baking that's a science that I believe that I only could probably truly gather through learning from directly from a baker, you know, being in that baker's presence or actually being at school to be able to do so. And then after that, it's just really identifying the steps that you want to go through. So the financial side of things. It does not require a lot of money to be able to start off as a chef, but I wouldn't say automatically just start off and put yourself out and say, oh, I'm a chef because I cook well. Like that to me, I didn't even do that with me. Like I created Chefs in the City long before Chef Edwin ever existed. I just had an idea and a concept that I felt like, you know what, it'll be cool to be able to bring in chefs that have their own independent businesses going on and to be able to utilize this team as a specialized service. But from there, I believe that I started putting in the work to be able to kind of solidify that foundation, which is making sure that that knowledge base is secure. So if you decide you don't want to go to school, definitely make sure that your knowledge base is strong. Make sure that you have your food handler's license because you're going to need that. Like there's certain things that you're still going to need to be able to do, even if you don't go to culinary school. You're still going to need to have a license to be able to handle food. You're still going to need to know the proper temperatures to be able to like store food, to be able to, you know, cook food, to know when food is done. So it never, the learning process of this all, it does not, you're not alleviated from it just because you say, I don't want to go to school and get a degree. You still have to learn what it takes to be an exceptional chef, to be able to be out there. And I mean, my biggest thing, like with Chefs in the City, I'm not just looking for chefs that are exceptional in the kitchen. I'm looking for chefs that are exceptional in their level of service to people. When I know that your heart is right towards people, and when I know that you're not just money driven, because of course we all create a business for the purpose of money. That's a given. But I don't want that to be your sole purpose. I don't want you to have, I'm just trying to get the bag concept. I get it when people use that terminology and we say we're out to get the bag and we're hustlers. Yeah, you want to have that drive and motivation, but I believe that when we are passionate and we are intentional about presenting an exceptional service to our clientele, the money's going to chase you down. Like, I
Yes.
don't even really do a lot of marketing right now in regards to my business, but everything that I've gotten has been through word of mouth. Somebody's had food somewhere. Somebody saw this video. Or when I do a cooking live, they may like the energy that I put out when I do the live. And so
Mm-hmm.
those are indirect ways of marketing, but you have to truly be, you can't just go into it for the money purpose. Because if you're only
Mm-hmm.
focused on the money, then when the money's not there, then you'll easily chunk the deuce to it and be gone.
Yeah, that was something that I wanted to know. Like, how do you market and advertise? So I do know that you are the founder of Chefs in the City. So how do you market and advertise Chefs in the City? And what exactly is Chef in the City? Chefs in the City.
So, like I said, Chefs in the City it's a culinary collective. So when I say a culinary collective, it is, I don't have staff that are necessarily my employees, quote unquote.
Mhm.
These are chefs that have their own thing going on. They may have their own business going on. They
Mhm.
got their own private thing going on, and they don't mind joining a team or a network that allows them an opportunity to be able to have uh, additional jobs put out their way. Now, if I reach out to you and say, hey, I got a job that's paying X amount of dollars, this is a food budget. Yes, you're representing your brand, but you're also representing Chefs in the City at the same time. And so there's a
Right.
certain standard and there's a certain level of things that I want to be executed, to be done in a certain way.
Mhm.
Now, marketing, I would say, is I just kind of go through a very indirect way. Like every now and then I may, put out an actual post on Instagram that says, hey, if you're looking for a chef, reach out to me here, reach out to me there. As of right now, I really haven't had to do that much,
Mhm.
because much of my business has come from, and that's a great thing, I believe. I believe that, it's great to be able to hire people and pay people to do, marketing for you. But I
Yeah.
believe that it's something exceptional about when you constantly get business because somebody has referred your business to somebody else and said, hey, I know a
Right.
chef that gave us a great experience. So maybe you want to reach out to that person. And so I would say that's been 90% of my business. Now, when I hop on and I do those cooking lives that are, just me getting on and whipping up something really fast, I
Mhm.
consider that marketing too. Anytime that I hop on social media and I'm doing something that has to do with cooking, or I post a picture of a video or a picture or a video that's related to food,
Mhm.
although I may not look at it as direct marketing, or I'm not saying, hey, if you want to order this, reach out to me here. If I may just post it and say this is, you know, whatever dish, it's still marketing. And so that's the reason why I try to make sure that when I hop on a live, that there's still a level of professionalism. Like when I do a very like when I do a Taco Tuesday, I may have, friends that are over and we're doing a Taco Tuesday, but I still want to kind of keep some level of structure to it to where, you're all in tune. I may tell you like little tips about what it is I'm doing or how
Mhm.
you can do this or whatever it may be. And so to me, I've gotten a lot of business from those opportunities because some people may say, oh, dude, I just watched your live and I love the way that you did this, or I love the energy that you had when you did this live. And so we want to consider, flying you out to our area to be able to shep it up for us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. I love it. So I see a couple of questions and then we're going to wrap it up. Lady Z wants to know, do you have a favorite chef that you admire?
I would say that the chef that I follow the most right now is Gordon Ramsay.
Mm,
Probably one of the most well-known chefs that's out there. But the reason why I like him because he has a certain level of tenacity. Like he's very hard on you,
mhm,
but at the same time, he also has an expectation for you to be able to kind of rise above whatever level it is of a chef that you are at that moment, to be
mhm,
the best chef that you can be. And so there's so many different videos and things that I've watched of him, from the family videos that he does with his kids, and you see the family side of him. And then you see him, kind of in the Hell's Kitchen format where he's screaming and hollering at people and
yeah,
cursing people out. And then
mhm,
you see him in another aspect. And so those are the different, dimensions, characteristics of a chef. But it's just something about him that is his teaching method is honestly very simplistic in nature, And he's just very easy to understand. And he's just one of those chefs that I've kind of taken, a major liking to.
Okay. Okay. And last question, Miss Jones would love to know, do you cook vegan food?
I do. So
Vegan,
vegan food is
vegan,
not one that I
vegan.
I consider myself that I specialize in.
Mhm.
When I was doing meal preparation as a personal trainer, I had an opportunity. I had vegan clients, and so I had to really think outside of the box in regards to vegan food. And so I think now with the popularity of vegan foods, there's just so many different things that you can do. Like I had an opportunity to do something for the Food Network a few months back
Mhm.
for a young lady that's an Army veteran that I
Mm.
deployed to in Iraq, and so she wanted a vegan created menu, but it was kind of like a fast food style. And so I
Mm.
wanted to do something that was very different in nature, outside of it just being like your incredible or impossible burgers and just buying already made burgers. Like I wanted to be able to create my own patties and figure out what would be tasty, and that people that actually would like. And so
Yeah.
when I think about vegan food in itself, like right now, like I'm studying a couple of vegan books, and there's just so many things that are out there. Now, there's some things I think that frustrate me a lot because I'm just like, I really don't want to go through all that to be able to kind of create this and do that.
Right.
But
That
that's just
one
the process that
patty.
goes along. Yeah, it's just the process that goes with it.
You're like, forget it.
Because yeah, it is. Like if you're thinking about making an actual vegan burger, there's this stuff called sation, which is basically it's not a gluten-free flour. It's actually a flour that has all of the gluten in it, and
Mm.
so it becomes a spongy type material. But you got to make it flavorful. Then you got to steam it, and it's like I just rather eat a damn burger after doing all that.
Right,
But
exactly, exactly. You like, just give me some soybeans.
yeah.
I'll put it on my salad. Right. This is amazing. So let everyone know if you have any projects that you're working on that you would love for them to tune into, to follow, to support you. Let them know your handles where they can follow you on social media, etc.
So my social media handles on Instagram it's Chefs in the City 713. On Facebook it's Chefs in the City 713. And then my food page, which I have not been consistent with posting the pictures on the food page like I should, but it's Chefs in the City HTX for Houston, Texas. So you can follow that. As far as upcoming projects are concerned, I'm actually getting ready to partner with some organizations, youth organizations that are here in the city of Houston for some fatherhood projects, actually, where we're going to be working together to be able to get fathers together to be able to learn just the basics of cooking, and then just other homeless initiatives that I'm going to be doing. Now, one of the biggest things that I am going to try to be more consistent on is the social media presence of doing the Zoom live. So, prior to the pandemic, I did a lot of in-person cooking classes, but now I've gotten a lot of contracts through Chase Bank and through the Jack and Jill organizations,
Wow,
through Upward Bound, and
wonderful.
so I do virtual classes for them on a regular basis. And so through that connection, like I'm going to be doing a large Juneteenth event out here in Houston. But then outside of that, I think my biggest thing is just really just doing, like a monthly virtual cooking experience. That's not going to be on IG. It's going to be a Zoom class. It's not going to cost a lot, anywhere between $15 and $20 to be able to do it, but it'll be a more in-depth class and just kind of the format that I do on IG, where on IG, I'm not really doing the instructional. I'm cooking things. I may tell you a few tips here and there, but it's not an actual class. And so
Mhm.
my biggest thing is being able just to help you all to be able to see that cooking is not as difficult. And I'm not looking for you all to love it as much as I do, because I know some people may not ever get the affinity for cooking the way that I desire to cook. But my thing is to get you to be able to see that there's some things that you can prepare that does not require the amount of time that you feel like it's really going to take you to cook. And just that opportunity of being able to get family back together. That's the biggest thing that we miss. And, even when I think about the busyness of my schedule, with my son, it's making sure that we take that opportunity just to be able to cook together. And then
Yeah.
sometimes just sit down. You may not have to sit down at the dinner table every single day out of the week, but make it a point. to do
Yeah.
at least once or twice out of the week, because it's that opportunity of communing together. It's like when you think about the terminology communion,
Yeah.
it's that opportunity of being able to sit down. And when I was in Iraq, that was the biggest thing that I dealt with, that even in a combat environment, when we had, individuals that were, potentially trying to kill us, we would actually have to sit down with sheikhs of certain provinces. And we had to present ourselves by taking off our Kevlar, putting down our weapon. Now, we still had people that were standing guard, around us, but we would sit. That was a place of peace. That was a neutral zone. This sometimes an opportunity for you to talk to, your kids, to be able to find out what's going on in their lives, outside of, finding out things, through other means. You can sit down and really have an in-depth conversation
Yeah.
over a good meal, and
Yes.
just see how your kid's day is going. And I think
Absolutely.
it solidifies the foundation of being able to create a good relationship with your family.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, and that is so very important. If I'm behind that stove, if I cook, you can best believe me and my daughter and I, we're sitting at the table and we're going to eat together. Like I do it at least 4 or 5 times a week. Like you have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes she's like, Mommy, can I, play on my iPad? And sometimes it's like, okay, go ahead. Cause I might have to, take notes, or if I'm working. But the fact that we're just sitting at the table together, it means everything to me. So we
Yeah.
do that. So I completely agree. Wow, this was an amazing interview. I appreciate you so much. So all the handles that you guys heard that Edwin he gave you a second ago, just a little, there I go, starting to get tongue tied. So down below in the bio, in the description box, just to let you know, all the links that he said and all the links that he probably didn't say are in the description box. So we already pre-planned this and it's already in there. So if you want to go and subscribe to Edwin's, or not subscribe, but go follow Edwin on Instagram if you want to check out his website, Chefs in the City. Everything is going to be down in the description box below. Other than that, thank you so much, Edwin, for joining me tonight on The Missing Link. And yeah, until the next link, guys, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you, Edwin.
Thank you. I appreciate you as
Thank
well for
you.
having me.
All right. Until the next link, guys, have a great night.
Peace and love.
Bye.